So, hey, this is Terry with In My Sister's Living Room. I'm glad you could join me today. And today I am with my sister Sheila. Hey, Sheila,
Hey, Terry.
how are you?
I'm great. How's it going with you?
Doing great. Doing great. Thank you. So, for those that don't know, our In My Sister's Living Room is a community of women who come together to encourage one another through prayer and study and just really helping disciple one another and helping us get out and disciple as we walk out this faith journey. So we're glad that you could join us today, Sheila. I wanted to chat with you because um, you and your husband have been doing marriage ministry for years, and you have worked with couples who are not only married, but those who are engaged or contemplating marriage. You've also mentored and counseled and coached single women, as well as led parenting classes. So those are all kinds of varieties of life phases. But I wanted to chat with you about any kind of common thread that you see going through those encounters with people that, is a nugget of truth that you share.
That's a great question because as I've been going through this journey, my husband and I, we thought about the fact that decisions is probably the groundwork for every one of those situations that you mentioned. First of all, deciding who you're going to marry. I
Okay.
didn't know to ask God
Right.
at the time that I got married. So, but he did bless us to continue on the journey. So that's the first decision that we had to make around marriage. And the next decision was to decide to stay married.
Hmm.
I can just tell you that it was not easy as it is with any marriage because you're going to have ups and downs.
Right.
But making that decision is one of the most important things that you can do.
Right. Right. That's good because you're talking about making decisions and all of that. And that goes back to the fact that we have free will choice,
Yes.
and that's what the word says. And but the process that we go through when we're making those choices is what's important. What are some of the nuggets of truth that you share with people about how to decide on making a decision?
Well, one of the things that I can share a really quick story about us, we were having an argument, and one of us said, well, if you're going to behave like that, well, then you might as well leave. Of course, that person was me. And, and my husband said, well, I'm not going anywhere. And I said, well, I'm not going anywhere. But that's when we had to decide we've got to learn how to work together and live together. So some of it comes by accident, some of it comes by sitting down and planning, but all of it, I think the most important thing here is to retain the intimacy. If you're intimate with a person, talking to them and settling arguments and trying to make it work, it's really hard to not love them. So a lot of times people talk about, oh, love is the most important thing, and it is very, very important. But our idea of love from a fantasy world sometimes won't work. You've got to do some practical things to make those decisions and stay together.
Okay, that's great. That's great. And I think it's beautiful that you sit down with couples. So, what kind of advice would you give to marrieds that would be hesitant to, we all talk about having a mentor. People have mentors in the workplace. People have mentors. Maybe women have a female mentor for careers, or men might have a mentor. But what about couples having a married mentor?
Well, that is really difficult sometimes because a lot of couples may not have the same idea about marriage as you, because a lot of times we say to couples, there's two people in this circle, and then there's God. And those are the two people and God who make decisions about this marriage. Now, you can take advice from people, but ultimately you're making the decisions. And that comes in real key when there's in-laws involved. So, so it's important for that couple to decide that. And one of the things that we noticed when we were having marriage retreats, singles said to us, well, you know, we need to have some of that information before we get married. And I agree, because I could have been saved a lot of arguments had I had some of this information that you have at retreats prior to my getting married.
Right, that's good. So for the single people who are listening, what's a piece of advice that you would give to them as they are going through dating relationships?
Decide on what it is that you must have and what is a desire. For example, for me, I saw my father take us to church, and he worked hard. So without him teaching me, I looked for a man that was spiritual and that would work. And so decide long before you couple with a person, what is it that I want and must have for a partner?
And then what do you kind of say to some of these people? And I know I'll speak to the women since that's who we're kind of targeting here. What do you say when they're like, yeah, but that's not out there?
Then the thing that I usually tell them is, what is God saying to you? Because if you are in tune with God and you let God know what you want, then that's what you pray about. Now, I know that sometimes people say, well, oh, that's spiritual. I need the physical piece. Get the spiritual piece right, and the physical part of it will fall in line. Because sometimes we want something so bad, and when we get it, we find out that it's not what we really wanted. For example, if you buy a very, very expensive car and you can't afford the upkeep, then that thing that you really wanted becomes a hindrance in your life. And when you
Good.
go and have a partner that you're not evenly yoked with, it becomes a hindrance in your life and your family's life, and then the children. You think about that.
Yeah.
That's another part of this puzzle that we have to figure out.
Right. And I think maybe in the future we'll sit down and we'll talk a little bit about parenting, because I've heard you give some really sage advice to parents, acknowledging that we live in a frazzled parenting kind of world. So I think it's great that everything comes back to a decision. And that is, and then as we're continuing to say about the singles, you have to make a decision as to whether or not you trust God, whether or not you think so little of yourself that you have to settle. If you think, um, that everything that's shiny must be good. So it really does come down to that intimacy with God, to say, I believe he wants the best for me. So if I believe he wants the best for me and I can pray to him for my job or, other things, then why wouldn't he want the best for me for a life partner?
Yes, I like the way you summarize that, Terry, because it really does come down to the decisions and your relationship with God.
Absolutely. All right. So I appreciate you talking with me today. As we wrap up, is there any kind of nugget of truth or any kind of advice you'd like to pass on that you didn't have an opportunity to state?
I'd like for people to know that stay with it. Don't give up on it. Find resources, because there are people out there who are just wanting to help marriages,
Mhm.
especially in our Christian community. So don't give up, just keep working at it and see where God leads you.
That's awesome. Yeah. Very wise information from a very wise person. So thanks so much, Sheila, for joining us today. And if anyone wants to get in touch with us, you have any comments, you have any topics, and also prayer requests, we are imslr5@gmail.com, and check out our YouTube channel where you can find this video and other videos. You can search for us, IMSLR5, or In My Sister's Living Room. So thanks, Sheila.
All
Love
right.
you.
Bye,
Bye.
Gary. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.